So picture this. You're scrolling through your feed, half paying attention while eating lunch or procrastinating on something you should be doing. And then you see it, your favorite influencer, perfect lighting, glowing skin, holding up some miracle product. They tell you they've been loving this lately, or that it's literally changed their life. You pause. Maybe you've been thinking about buying something like that, and now here's someone you follow, someone you kind of trust, even if you've never met them, saying this exact product is the game changer you need. But here's the thing, that moment, that little pause where you consider buying, that's not an accident, it's not random, it's the result of a multi-billion-dollar machine working exactly how it's supposed to. Influencer marketing, as innocent as it seems, is one of the most powerful forms of advertising today. And while it might look casual, spontaneous, even real behind the curtain, there's a world most people don't even know exists. Or worse, don't think to question. Let's start with how these deals actually work. A lot of people assume influencers just try products, genuinely love them, and then post about them. But more often than not, brands approach influencers before that glowing review ever exists. They don't just want a post, they want a curated message, a narrative, and it's one that fits exactly into your scrollable, shareable world. Some influencers are handed full talking points, even scripts. They're told what to say, what to emphasize, what words to use, sometimes even how many times to say a brand name in a single video. It's not just a casual recommendation, it's an ad dressed in authenticity. Now here's where it gets even murkier. Many smaller influencers, or even mid-tier ones, aren't required to disclose when they're being paid. Technically, they should. There are laws about that, but unless someone's looking really closely, or reporting them, it slides under the radar. That just sharing my skincare routine moment might be a contract worth thousands. And the audience? Often none the wiser. Even the biggest names with number ad tags sometimes make those disclosures barely noticeable. A tiny font, buried in a caption, or shown for half a second in a video. It's enough to check a box, but not enough to really inform anyone. And we're not even getting into the free products, luxury trips, or under-the-table perks that don't get tagged at all. Because those don't always have to be. If money didn't exchange hands, it's technically a gift, but the impact on the audience, it's the same. We've created this world where influencers are our new age celebrities, but more than that, they're positioned as friends. We follow their lives, their relationships, their routines. It feels intimate, relatable. That's what makes influencer marketing so powerful and so quietly dangerous. And this is just the beginning. Because what happens after the deals are done? What pressure do influencers feel to keep the money flowing? And what happens when they stop believing in the products they promote? We'll talk about that next. So what happens after the deal is signed, the product is posted, and the likes start rolling in? Well, here's where things start to get a little darker. Because for many influencers, especially those who rely on sponsorships as a primary income source, it becomes less about what they believe in and more about what they have to sell to stay relevant and paid. Behind the camera, there's pressure. A lot of it. Imagine this, your rent, your bills, your entire lifestyle is tied to how well your audience engages. If a brand isn't happy with the performance of one of your posts, you might lose the next deal. If your engagement drops, your rate goes down. If you say the wrong thing, even once, you could be dropped entirely. So what do? You keep smiling, you keep recommending, even if you're tired, even if you no longer believe in the product, even if deep down you know it's not really helping anyone. Some influencers have even admitted, after the fact, that they promoted products they never used or services they never tried. Why? Because the offer was too good to turn down. And because for many of them, saying no feels like career suicide. And here's another twist. Brands are getting smarter. They don't just want influencers with massive followings anymore. They want niche ones. Micro-influencers with small, loyal communities. People who seem more real, more trustworthy. And that's where things become even more manipulative. Because if someone with 10,000 followers tells you, "Hey, I use this every day and I love it," it feels less like an ad and more like a recommendation from a friend. You're more likely to believe them. more likely to buy. That's the magic of it. And that's also the danger. A lot of these influencers don't even realize how much power they hold. They're not trained marketers or advertisers, they're just people who built an audience by being themselves. But then brands come knocking, and suddenly they're responsible for pushing products, shaping opinions, and sometimes misleading people without fully meaning to. It creates this weird blur between authenticity and performance, between being genuine and being persuasive. And for viewers, people like you and me, it becomes nearly impossible to tell what's real and what's not. We think we're watching someone's honest life. But in reality, we're watching a carefully crafted brand, a highlight reel. And the worst part is, they're doing it because we want them to. We want the beautiful shots, the clean edits, the perfect morning routines, the curated life. We reward it with likes, shares, and attention. And that attention is exactly what keeps the machine alive. And if you think that's already a little unsettling, just wait. We'll talk about the mental toll influencer marketing takes, not just on us as viewers, but on the influencers themselves. And trust me, it's not all free products and beach vacations. Let's be honest, when most people think of influencers, they imagine this glamorous, carefree life, free trips, designer clothes, brunches that look like magazine covers. But behind all that beauty and branding, there's a cost. And I'm not just talking about money, I'm talking about the mental toll this lifestyle takes. Because once you become an influencer, your life is no longer just your life. Every moment, every outfit, every meal, every thought becomes content. And the pressure to always be on is real. You can't afford to be boring. You can't afford to disappear. Your followers expect consistency. They expect access. And if you stop posting, the algorithm forgets you, the brands move on. It's like being in a constant state of performance, even when you're exhausted, even when your mental health is slipping. And the irony is, influencers are often expected to share their struggles too, but only in a way that's aesthetically pleasing and emotionally digestible. It's not about being real, it's about looking real, while still being marketable. And that's where it gets especially dangerous. Because while the rest of us might scroll through Instagram or TikTok and feel that subtle sting of comparison, the "why doesn't my life look like that?" the influencers themselves are battling a much heavier weight. They're comparing themselves to others in the same game, constantly measuring likes, comments, sponsorships, wondering why one brand picked someone else, wondering if their content is good enough, if they are good enough. There's even a term for it now, creator burnout, and it's becoming more common than ever. Some influencers have opened up about developing anxiety, depression, even identity crises, all because they feel trapped in the image they created. They can't slow down, because if they do, they risk losing everything they've built. And yet, so many keep going. Why? Because the system rewards it. The more you post, the more you grow. The more you share, the more you earn. And stepping back, even for a little while, can feel like career suicide in an industry that moves at the speed of the scroll. But here's the part that really messes with your head. Most of this happens silently. No one really talks about it, because doing so might make you look ungrateful, or weak, or, worst of all, irrelevant. So influencers smile, they post, they filter their emotions just like they filter their photos. And we, the audience, keep consuming. Because we want the fantasy, even if it's hurting the people who create it. But what if we all knew more about how this world actually works? What if we saw the hidden costs, the emotional strain, the blurred boundaries, the exploitation hiding behind sponsored smiles? In next part, we're going to dig even deeper into the future of influencer marketing, how the rules are changing, and what you need to know as a viewer, or maybe even as someone considering stepping into this world yourself. Because if no one's telling you the truth, how can you protect yourself? So now that you know what really goes on behind the curated grid and the perfectly lit videos, where do we go from here? Well, the influencer world is evolving fast. The glossy image we used to admire is slowly being replaced by something a little messier, and in some ways more honest. Audiences are starting to crave authenticity. They're tired of being sold to 24/7. They don't want every post to feel like an ad. They want connection, real stories, flaws, humor, vulnerability. But here's the catch. Even authenticity has become a strategy. Brands are now actively searching for influencers who can appear real, relatable, and raw, without actually being too risky or too unfiltered. It's like walking a tightrope. How do you seem imperfect enough to be liked, but still polished enough to be trusted? And then there's the rise of micro-influencers, smaller creators with loyal, engaged followings. They're often seen as more trustworthy, more niche, but they're also more vulnerable. With less negotiating power, they're more likely to get underpaid or taken advantage of by brands who know they're hungry to grow. That's where the dark side keeps resurfacing, because whether you have 1,000 followers or 1 million, this industry rarely plays fair. It thrives on blurred lines between personal and professional, passion and performance, honesty and branding. But maybe the most important truth, the one no one really tells you, is this. Influencers aren't the problem. Most of them are just trying to make a living doing something creative, something fun, something that gives them freedom. The real issue? It's the system, the platforms, the pressure, the way success is measured in clicks and conversions instead of connection and care. And that's where you come in. The viewer, the follower, the fan. Every like, every share, every comment shapes the landscape. You help decide what content wins. You help decide what kind of influencer gets rewarded. And that power, it's bigger than you think. So maybe the next time you're scrolling and see someone living that perfect influencer life, take a second. Ask yourself what might be happening behind the scenes. Look beyond the filters. Support the creators who are transparent, who respect your attention, who don't just sell to you, but speak to you. Because the more we demand honesty and reward it, the better this entire world can become. Not just for influencers, but for everyone watching, learning, and growing through the screen. And if you're thinking about stepping into this space yourself, just know what you're really walking into. The likes may feel good, the attention may be exciting, but the truth, that's where your real power lives. And now, you know it.